This is FNN, where we give facts, not nonsense. So I'm back, and that's because tonight is the first big election since the midterms 2022. It's the Republican Iowa Caucus kicking it off. Normally, you would ask why aren't the Democrats here? And that is because due to Joe Biden's request that the Democratic National Committee has pushed the Iowa caucuses back. Although tonight Democrats are filling out something called the presidential preference form. Although unless our president somehow manages to become medically unfit for office, it's pretty clear that he's going to win the nomination with his main challengers from Marianne Williamson and Representative Dean Phillips. On the Republican side, which is the big one tonight, we've got four main candidates really still left after Christie's dropout: Trump, Haley, DeSantis, and Vivek Ramaswamy. The key point for both DeSantis and Ramaswamy, they've done what's called the full Grassley. Chuck Grassley is who it's named after. He's a senator in Iowa, 42 years. He's very old, but he keeps going on. They've been to all of Iowa's 99 counties, and they hope that despite sitting third and fourth in the polls, that will help them, and we will see as we await results to come in tonight. So these are our four main candidates tonight. Obviously, there are still a few guys. There's businessman Ryan Blinkley, who I didn't, to be honest, have not heard of until an hour into this. Until an hour before this, there's obviously Asa Hutchinson, former governor. But the four big ones, ever since Chris Christie dropped out, for reasons that we will discuss later: Donald Trump, obviously the former president; Nikki Haley, who was the former South Carolina governor, then went on to serve as Donald Trump's UN ambassador. There's Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, you all know him by now. He's from, I think a lot of the appeal on Ron is that he is Trump's policies, which I think a lot of Republicans really like Trump's policies in office. I think from their perspective, the economy was doing quite well, but it's him without, almost the mind of Trump, which I feel like can upset some voters. And there's entrepreneur Vivek Ramaswamy, who's 37 years old. He's been attacked at debates, but he's a new face, and he's a fresh face in this Republican Party that I think, and it's interesting because this has been a very consistent party, and we're seeing two very diverse candidates. It's been a party that's been historically run by white men, and tonight we're seeing Nikki Haley, and Vivek Ramaswamy. So it's interesting to see diversity open up in the Republican Party. Here's the Republican polling. In the national average, which is on the top, Donald Trump is leading Nikki Haley by 49 points. The big question: there have not really been any polls collected since Christie's dropout. There have been two, and it's not looking any better really for Haley. But, and there is a but, if Haley gets a big momentum in the first two states, I think that logic's going to bring. Haley's down 34 points tonight, and there are polls without Christie in them that have showed that she is still well down. But I was not the point for Haley. Haley, realistically, if she wants to stay in, needs to get within 25 points tonight, which means she's got to beat the polling average by 8 or 9 points. Very doable in my mind, because I think Trump just has such a grasp on the Republican Party that even people might not want to say that they're voting for Nikki Haley or Ron DeSantis or Vivek Ramaswamy or even Asa Hutchinson, who's sitting at 1% in the polls. New Hampshire is where Haley really has to hit, though, and I think that she is the main focus of the runner for Trump. And it's funny because DeSantis was the one talking about maybe beating Trump, but Haley is really the main focus here for second place. And she's getting close to Trump in polls. If you look at the CNN and University of New Hampshire poll from that first week of January, she was only 7 points off him. She now has the endorsement of Governor of New Hampshire, Chris Sununu. And I think New Hampshire is really the big chance for her, especially because Christie was polling 12% in that state. How much of that vote goes to her, especially because Christie was really the one to come most outwards on Trump. And yeah, I think that is going to be a really major talking point. How much can Haley support? And Ron DeSantis is always there. He is always going to get some portion of the vote. There are people that like him. I have read extensively in coming up with this. There are people that like how Ron DeSantis operates. You've also got Vivek Ramaswamy, who, as I mentioned before, he's young. He's a fresh face. His largest vote getter is a large group of young Republican voters who are looking for change. But those young Republican voters do not generally have the highest turnout records. His way and his distant path to nomination is getting that young block of Republican voters, Republican diverse voters, to turn out, because that is how he is going. So that Donald Trump is Donald Trump at this point. But Here's the main effect into this. You know what you can't control? The weather. At 6:30 p.m., the warmest temperature in the state of Iowa was a couple degrees. In Des Moines, it's -2 all the way up. In the northwest corner of the state, it's -7 with real field temperatures at -30. The temperatures today, there was a gigantic Arctic blast coming down. Even I'm in Connecticut, and we barely saw snow last year, and we're about to get our second 3-4 inch storm of season. But you look at that map, and that might spur turnaround. There were churches closed yesterday in running this, and now you're telling people to go out and vote, and I wonder how much that's really going to influence people. There could be very low turnout tonight because people can't get in their cars. Maybe people who would walk 10 minutes to their church because they don't have a car in 30 or 40 degree weather, you can't do that when it's -7 outside. And that is the other big point of this is the weather is not good. And there's not a specific group of people that really affects besides maybe older voters, which have the highest block for Donald Trump. So that is one of the reasons that I think the polls are favoring Donald Trump a bit, also with the people saying it's going to vote. But the extreme cold could really play a factor in things tonight. And it's really major as we come in to what is really the first important election event in 15 months. This has been Finn's News Network, where we give facts, not nonsense. Thank you for watching. And more updates will be coming tonight and across the coming days and leading up the Republican primary, so stay tuned.